Welcome into a Week 12 Packers defensive breakdown against the Minnesota Vikings. A 23-6 win for this Packers team. And overall, it was a pretty decent performance from the Packers. I think it was a lot of offensive incompetence from the Minnesota Vikings. J.J. McCarthy is not looking very good. And of course, this offense had negative 1 yard in the second half. Packers were able to get home with 5 sacks. But let's dive into the film, see if there were any things that the Packers still need to work on and how some of the good plays and bad plays ended up happening. All right, early on in the first drive, Vikings were able to move the ball. Here you get a pretty decent run by Aaron Jones, but this is really just good timing. Good timing for this play call, because you have a blitz that is on from Edgerrin Cooper. You can see you get a double team that's taking place here, and he's going to recognize that blitz, and he's just going to take him and push him off to the side, and that's going to create a nice cutback lane for Aaron Jones. So he's able to get upfield and get a pretty decent gain for 13 yards, and we'll watch it from the end zone angle as well. But he comes running down, and this is a good job by 76, keeping eyes on that backer. As soon as he gets even with you, peel off and just create that seal. Wyatt trying to go onto the inside. Right? If Wyatt goes off to the left here, because Wooden is kind of playing a 2-gap responsibility there, then Wyatt would be able to kind of refill. But I don't think he's anticipating that, because he's got Cooper, who's supposed to be blitzing off that side. So Wyatt's going to peek inside instead of back off to the left. And that's going to create just enough of a lane for Aaron Jones to get positive yards. Next play, this really should have been a pick six. We're going to focus on Bullard. They're going to motion him over, and he's going to end up blocking down. And he's going to take a step up, fire back down, and he's supposed to catch it and then run behind these blocks. But of course, we got Bullard, who has good recognition of what's going to happen here. He sees number one, Naylor, go out for that block, and I really wish Bullard was looking for this ball, because that's a pick six. If he's catching that, if his eyes are back towards the QB, that's going to be going 6 the other way. I'll check here from the check. Looks like it was an RPO. He liked his numbers on the outside, but Bullard able to recognize it, get in the way, break up that pass. So on a 2nd and 10, makes it 3rd and 10 instead of it being a turnover. And here we are on a 3rd and 10, and this is good job by the pressure up front. Also, good job by Gary being in the vicinity of this screen. We know the Packers have been hurt by screens in the past. But you can see Gary is there reading it the entire way. You get pressure, and you don't necessarily get any completion there, because McCarthy throws it essentially in the dirt, because he does see Gary kind of pull off there of that block. Goes incomplete. And Packers are able to get a stop on 3rd down. But of course, this is going to lead to a 52-yard field goal. It's not an accurate pass there, with pressure bearing down. Jones going off to his right. McCarthy throwing to the left. Just not on the same page there. And Gary probably makes that tackle at the line of scrimmage anyways, if he does catch that. So it would end up being a 4th and 10 regardless. On this play, I think you get a little bit of the nerves from McCarthy. This is going to be a fumbled snap, but you're going to see a delayed pressure that's coming downhill. And this is going to be something that we see as effective early on in the game, and it's going to be happening later with Parsons. But you can see he gets his eyes up. He's got his eyes watching Cooper. That attention is just going to force this fumbled snap. You'll see it a lot better from the end zone angle as well. Comes bearing down. It doesn't look like he gets stepped on or anything. It just seems like he gets surprised by the ball. hits him in the hand, bobbles it a little bit. I think that's just strictly his nerves, right? Understanding that there's going to be pressure in his face in a second, right? Bobbles that snap and looks like a designed play action. So he wasn't really too comfortable there. Next play is a big run around 25 yards given up on the ground. And Vikings were talking about, on the broadcast, hey, we're going to have this grinded out game. This is just good blocking up front. Can slow it down. Missed tackle by Valentine there at the end. But paying attention to the front, you're going to get Hopper, who's going to get one-on-one by a tight end. But you get a nice double team here against Wooden that's going to create this gap. And then you've got an ISO who's going to take out that linebacker. But that double team, they do a really good job of controlling Wooden, getting him turned, and then getting off that double team onto the backer. You can just see how Wooden gets completely turned sideways, and that's going to create a gap. And then you get the receiver coming in, responsible for that safety. Safeties are much better tacklers, so let's block the safeties. Leave the corner. And of course, there you go. Little arm tackle from the corner. Not going to be enough to bring him down. But Hopper, with good effort, able to chase him down from behind. We can see this ISO from the backside as well. Really good push by this offensive line. Getting Wooden out of the way, opening up that gap, getting that double team. Really just good execution by the Vikings offense on that play. Not really anything that the Packers defense did wrong. And as tradition calls for, we've got Kingsley Enagbare, his one stop of the game. He always has one really good run stop. This one comes on 4th and 1. And there he's just going to get that swim move over the top and able to tackle Jordan Mason for a loss of 1 yard. Well, watch it from the end zone angle as well. Obviously, you can see they're anticipating he's going to be crashing down on him on the inside. So that's going to just cause this little quick swim move, that loop around. And that's going to be just enough to get him around, making that play in the backfield. And instead of the Vikings getting points in this situation, making it 6-7, they end up getting a stop. That's going to help them later on in this game. All right, next play, you're going to get a cover 6 look from the Packers. You're going to get a quarter and a half player. And that cover 6 means you're going to get cover 2 on this side and quarters on the top side. And they're going to attack this with a bench concept. So you're going to get this kind of clear out with a corner. And then you're going to have this quick out from the inside receiver. So it's similar to a smash, which is going to be perfect against a cover 2. Vikings are a little bit messy here. They're bumping into each other because of the press. But that's still going to be able to be a nice window. And Valentine actually does a really good job of drifting back, almost tipping that ball. Jefferson is able to make a nice catch, and obviously Evan Williams doing his best to try to make that ball come loose. He's not able to do it, and the Vikings are able to convert and push that ball further down the field. On this play, we are going to get a sack from these two interior players, McDuffie and Brinson. They're going to combine for a sack here on a little bit of a loop. But this is going to be your cover 2, Tampa 2. This is your middle read defender, and I think Edrin Cooper does a really good job here in coverage. That's going to kind of take away that middle read for McCarthy, and that's where he wants to go with the football. He's waiting for this. He sees that too high shell. We essentially have a cover 2 invert, which is you've got the safety firing down into a hook zone at the corner that's coming up, taking this deep half of the field. You got a half field here. You got your flat zone, hook zone, and you've got your middle read. So you essentially have so much movement happening. If we go back to the start, you're going to see you get a cover 3 shell, and then you're going to get a rotation from the corner who's going to take over the top. You got McKinney taking over the top half. You've got Williams firing down. You've got Bullard firing to the flat. So you've got a cover 2 invert on one side and just base cover 2 on the other side, with this middle read player who sees that cross coming over the middle of the field. That's going to be McCarthy's main read. He probably could check this down on a 2nd and 10 down to Hawkinson and get, 5 or 6 yards on this. But by the time he would get to his second read, or that check out underneath, he's already getting pressured and he's going to get sacked there, which is going to force the Vikings into a long field goal on this drive that they do make. But of course, we've got the end zone angle to show you the front. Aaron Jones actually doesn't do it too bad here, picking up that blitz. It's just he can't take 2 guys at his size, and Brinson and McDuffie able just to keep working through and getting onto McCarthy there for a nice sack. Now we're going to get into the pressures a little bit, and we're just going to focus on Parsons for this play. This is just really good job getting upfield, beating the guy in front of him. All right, sets up outside, goes inside, and just an easy sack there. So he's been using speed all game, uses that little stutter step. 71 oversets. Usually you want to, if he stays here planted, he's probably okay. But he takes a second hop, right? So now he's no longer splitting the middle of that defender. So Parsons is going to take that, make an inside move. And you can see, you got McCarthy pump faking. He sees Cooper. He doesn't like it. You get the hands up as well. So that's going to get batted down if he does make that throw. And Parsons is just there way too fast, getting a sack. First one of the game. We're going to focus on Evan Williams. He just continues to flash in the run game. And this is just a really good stop. Firing downhill. He knows what's coming. He's just firing, getting into that open gap. And there's no way that this receiver who is responsible for that safety is going to get through the traffic and make that block. We'll see it from... He's got a blitz, probably a called run blitz. Addison trying to get there in time, but really big gap there for Jones if that receiver is able to make that block. But Williams firing down, making a nice play in the backfield. And here we got Parsons again. This is sack number 2. And kind of the start of a ton of pressure. Vikings are down. They're forced to throw. Now he's using that speed on the outside. All right, uses that inside move early on. Now he's just going to speed around the edge and get to that ball. Probably forced to fumble. Doesn't fall and hit the ground, but does knock the ball loose. McCarthy's able to keep on to it. But man, gets all the way around that edge. Able to get to the QB. Bring him down and set up a long third down. And then I would say that this is probably his most impressive play. Here we got Micah Parsons in the middle of the field. You got essentially a 4-man rush. You're just playing soft. It's 3rd and 16. But man, this is ridiculous. Just bowling through the center. 300 plus pounds on his back. The guard is with him. The fullback tries to get a piece of him as well. Then Devontae Wyatt just working through traffic. Able to get a sack. Of course, it's not a safety. Look at it from the end zone angle. But man, I don't know what you're meant to do as the center. Trying to block that guy coming full head of steam. Of course, I think some people were saying, hey, this should be a safety. But of course, he gets out of the end zone. The ball is not in the end zone when he's sacked. All right, forward progress. He's going to be down at that 1-yard line. And we're going to pay attention to Wyatt on the next one. And this is going to be another sack. It's 3rd and 17, 4th quarter this time. Bring Parsons in the middle. All right, you try to set up the same situation that you had earlier. Get a little bit of a twist. This time, Wyatt's essentially one-on-one. Gary pressuring from the outside. He's getting even with the QB. Then McCarthy steps up. Gary not able to wrap him up. Wyatt is going to be freed. Of course, he gets that hand up, right? Trying to avoid any passes. He's able to take him down, throw him into the end zone. And again, forward progress. The contact starts outside the end zone. That is not a safety. We'll see it here again. Gary getting nice pressure. Parsons trying to get off the grips of 64. But Wyatt able to get there, keep his hand up in the vision of McCarthy, and then take him down for a nice sack of a 10-yard loss. We got a few more plays. This we're going to focus on Gary up at the top and also McDuffie. This I think it should count as a sack fumble just to give Gary some numbers here. But, you know, he gets there. Don't know if this is an empty hand. We'll look at it from the end zone angle as well. Ball doesn't hit the ground, so ends up being an interception for McDuffie. A nice play on the ball there, but really good quick pressure from Gary. You have this chip, which we saw, you know, an issue on the offensive side where you chip him to the outside. It's going to make it very difficult for that tackle to protect against that speed rush. You can see that's exactly what happens here in favor of the Packers. And there's just no way that McCarthy is completing that pass, getting the ball hit out of his hand. I'll watch it from this angle as well. See, is it an empty hand? It does look like the ball gets knocked out of his hand and he's pushing an empty hand forward that flings the ball. I say give him a sack fumble, and a fumble recovery for McDuffie. Another interesting aspect of this game is Kamal Hadden having to replace Nixon after that neck stinger. And here, he shows a little bit of aggression. The play before, he feels like he gets held. So I think this is him a little bit frustrated. But you can see a jam to the face. Luckily, that's not called because, you know, illegal hands to the face is a penalty. 5-yard penalty, automatic first down. Luckily, that doesn't get called. But if we're looking at him in man coverage, he does his job. All right. He's got Jefferson in man. He's in a perfect position throughout that route, which is obviously going to force that check down to Jones. They're able to get the first down. You know, Cooper making that tackle, forcing him out of bounds. But I did like what I saw from Kamal Hadden. You know, he wasn't really tested that much. Made a few plays in terms of tackles. But, you know, really good game action against one of the top receivers in this league. So interested to see where he goes from here. And then the last play is just going to be the interception that seals this. And this is just bad football. Of course, you've got McCarthy trying to make something happen. We know his mechanics aren't that great. Right? We talked about getting way too wide on his base. Here he is, really wide. He's throwing essentially all arm here. There's no accuracy in this. The hips rotating essentially at the same time as the arm. Not necessarily the greatest mechanics in the world. Hopefully he's able to fix it, but that gets sailed. And Evan Williams is able to get a takeaway. So another takeaway for Evan Williams. Another couple turnovers in this game for the Packers. So those takeaways are starting to show up. And that's going to do it for this video. Overall, really good performance from this Packers defense. They weren't necessarily tested that much. There were a few good plays by the Vikings that were explosive, but other than that, the defense essentially limited them for the entirety of the game. Only 2 field goals given up. One of those was because of, you know, really good field position after the opening kickoff. Opening kickoff puts them on the 35. They really didn't have to drive down that far for a 52-yard field goal. And then the other field goal was a 59-yarder. So really not allowing the Vikings to get deep into the red zone and into scoring territory. So overall, a pretty encouraging performance for the Packers. And they didn't play a lot of snaps. right? Around 40 or so snaps on defense. There wasn't a lot of film to look at in this game. So hopefully the Packers defense is going to be fresh against the Detroit Lions on Thursday. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. I hope everyone has a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I will be back on Friday and Saturday with more videos about the Lions game. Take care, everyone.